Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you are listening to us from. Welcome to yet another episode of Footprints, a podcast through which we bring you the stories of our elders and glean the wisdom from their lives. Today, we are honored to have as our guest retired Justice Mary Damali Immaculate Maitum. We are here in her beautiful home in Muyenga. Thank you so much for hosting us here. And I'd like you to tell our listeners a bit about yourself, starting from Mary as a young girl. Where was Mary born? Where did you go to school? What were you like as a young girl?
I was born in Kaberamaido, near the hospital we used to, because my father used to work in the hospital. And my parents separated when I was 3, I think about 3. So I grew up shuttling between my parents' homes. My mother went back to her home and was given land, and she had a home there. And my father stayed in Kaberamaido. So my mother come from Galake district now. It used to be all Kaberamaido, but it's now a district. So where I went to school depended on where I spent my Christmas.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yes. If I spent Christmas with my mother, I would go to school there. At least for a year.
Yeah.
And then when I spent with my father, I would go to school in Kaberamaido.
Okay, but was it always the same school, even if you skipped a year, every other year? It was always the same school. Mm-hmm.
Yes, but I was baptized in Galake at my mother's home, and I belonged to the Anglican church. We was calling it missionary something, CMS.
Church Missionary Society.
Yeah. But then later on in life, I became a Catholic.
Okay.
So I used to do these shuttles, and I was left to my 3 stepmothers, and life was not very easy then.
Mm-hmm.
But my mother was very, very strict, and she was a disciplinarian. And I admired her for that, but not at the time.
Yes.
All the rest of it.
Yes, that's it.
Then my father now, I think, was feeling guilty about me being a motherless. So he loved me very, very much. And I was the first girl, and I was called after his mother. And my mother told me,
Which of the names?
Ilero.
Okay.
Yeah, Ilero means somebody who brings light.
Oh, yes, nice.
So when I was born, my mother tells me that my aunt came and said, no, you have to change that name. And she and my father were the same mother. He said that my mother was terrible. She used to have conflict with everybody, and they go to her sisters-in-law and burn their, break their pots, cooking pots and all that. So, but my father refused to change the name. So I grew up sort of not very secure. Because my mother also, when she went back home to her home, she had some other children after me. But the discipline was so much, and I was not very close to her. But I was very close to my father. But my father used to be transferred to Soroti, to places. In fact, I should say I grew up in Soroti. Yeah, because he stayed there longer. So I went to those 2 schools, Kaberamaido and Galake. But when I was in P7, I was sent to initially to a school, Catholic school in Luala. This girls. It was an all girls school. So I think I did better there. So then I went to Namagunga for 6 years. Yeah. So in Namagunga, I think I was one of the poorest girls in the school, socially speaking. But I went on scholarship. And I remember that when I was in the S2, I was very naughty though.
I can't imagine.
I can't imagine. I was very, very naughty, yes. And people would be making me a leader because they feared to, if anybody was, I was going to behave. So I remember in S2, we had a nun called Sister Peter Marriage. And she used to be so particular about the compound. To this day, I remember her voice if she walked in the grass. And so one time she made us clean the grass, wash.
Oh my goodness. Because you had walked on it or because we had walked on? Oh, wow.
So one time she gave us homework. And of course I didn't do mine. So we're sitting, 3 of us, and I was in the middle on the desk. So she said, exchange your books here. And then the case whom she called upon the first was me. Now, of course, the girls with the Cooper were stayed the exchange the book. So I got a blank book and started reading. And then she said, oh, that is very good. Whose is it? So I looked at the girls next to me and they looked at each other. And one of them said, oh, it is hers. And he said, bring it here. So I had the shoot. I was so humiliated to take a blank page doing it. And she said, she was very strong on the Holy Spirit. So she said, the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit is very powerful. She told me to call on you first. And she punished me. So I remember that very vividly, what happened in Namagunga. And then when I was in S6, then they made me a head girl. And I learned a lot about myself when I was head girl. Because I was also cheeky, so I knew what the girls were thinking. So they would start making noise, and then I know why they are making noise. So I did call, so I went and just stopped them. And they were disappointed. Yes, I did not lose my temper. So I really found who I was and whom I wanted to be when I was the head girl. Yes.
And can you tell us a bit about that? So who was Mary and who did you?
I learned, how to react to people, especially. And also because I used to read very many books, novels. Who are supposed to read novels a week. So it made me try to understand people.
Wow.
And I also carried it to my adulthood. I read many, many, many books, psychiatric books, psychology and all that. Mainly because I wanted also to understand myself. Because I found that there were many contradictory behaviors in my life. So when I started reading and, it's with self-help books and things like that, I started thinking and understanding others. I started questioning why people were doing what they were doing. And I loved Shakespeare. So Shakespeare really writes about human beings and their characters. Yes. So when I read Shakespeare's, then I started really getting very interested in people. Yeah.
Wow.
So up to now, I can sort of gauge people's motives, why they are doing what they are. Mostly they are driven by fear, jealousy, greed, all those things. So I learned that about people.
Wow.
So then, so it made me, I think, probably more tolerant to people than I would have been, because you know what is driving why they are doing what they're doing. Yes. So from Namagunga, I went to Britain. And you know, in Namagunga, they used to make us listen to music for 3 hours on Sundays, classical music.
Wow.
And we hated it
Oh my goodness.
at the time.
Yes. Yes.
But I found out that when I went to Britain, you know, I missed it so much that I would even go for concerts by myself. There was but I was in a hostel, a Methodist hostel, where there were, I would say it was a Commonwealth thing, hostel, but run by Methodist priest and his wife. So there were some people who were doing music and all that. So I would go and ask them whether they wanted to come to a concert with me.
Yes.
So, you know, I started going to concerts by myself, and I was wondering now, and when I wrote it back to my headmistress, I told me, you know, I will used to hate those 3 hours of music, classical music, and we were supposed to discern what is, you know, now playing the oboe, the words, the you know, brass and all that. So that was, you know, what I started loving music.
Wow.
So,
But first tell me, Mary, so you would sit in a designated place and they play music as you're listening, or
you know,
you'd be going around about your chores?
no. At school, they would make us sit together, and then they play music, and then you tried to say, well, that was the oboe playing, that was the flute, but you know, all those birds of this. Yes,
But teaching you interesting skills, right? Of listening, of picking out. So you had to concentrate.
You had to learn how to. So yeah. So and then also, but I was thinking that the way they brought us up at Namagunga, I really think they were bringing us up for marriage to leaders. Yeah. I think that was the kind of, because, you know, they would say, under the guise of discussing films. Yeah, because we used to, every 2 weeks, you have a film, and they look at it, and they watch it on the Thursday and Saturday. And then the next week, we should be able to talk about it, to critique. So yeah, under that, the guys, they taught us social, you know, behavior and all that. And then she told us about some girl who was expecting a proposal from a man. And then when he proposed that, will you marry me? The girl jumped at him and said, when?
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Yes.
Said, please don't do it.
Yeah.
So, you know, those kind of things, and what, you know, under the guise of criticizing the films and how a man should stand when it's kissing you and all that, you know, he would say under literature.
Yeah.
She would bring it under that, but it was really training was to be ladies. Yeah. So anyway, so
you go to the UK.
I went to UK.
Yes.
And then
And what are you doing there?
I was doing law. For this.
So when did you decide to become a lawyer?
I decided to become a lawyer because I had suffered injustices. And I was thinking that I would be able to defend the people and that kind of thing. That's why I decided to become a lawyer. And first of all, because my father was working in the hospital, I wanted to become a physiotherapist. But because I didn't even know what it meant, but because I liked the name physiotherapist, I wanted to become a physiotherapist.
Yeah.
But then I changed my mind, and I decided to go for law. So I was in the Inn of Lincoln's Inn, London. Yeah.
Wow.
And so I stayed there for 4 years. And then what said,
And what year was this? What year was this that you went to
Timalan, I think 68, 67, I don't remember where my... No, I went in 70s, and I came back when I came 63. So I was there for 4 years, I remember. Because when I went to the director of studies, you see a director of studies, so he told me you should wait and do your exams on this day and all that. So anyway, because I loved also reading, I loved reading.
Yes.
So, and it is good that I found a man who was involved in reading things, because but I would read. I had no time for people. I would read. So what saved my life, I think, because I was very naive, going from a convent school to London, I first of all I did there were 2 parts. There was first part, I did it in Insamisi here. So when I was in Insamisi, it was also running courses for social workers, for community development people. So it was a mix-up school, and I was the only girl among 15 men. And that is what also shaped my attitude towards men. Because among these men, first of all, people at home were against it, because being the only girl among 15 men, they thought I was going to be spoiled. So I remember they tried to dissuade my father from allowing me to go to do well in this kind of setup. And then my father said no, she let her do what she wants. Then they went to my mother, and my mother was having a broom in her hands. She was sweeping her veranda, I think. So they tried to tell her that I was going to get pregnant, what. So she waved the broom. She waved her broom as if, and she declared very loudly and convincingly that she's never going to get pregnant with those men.
Wow.
And then I was shocked at her certainty. She was really certain about it. So I said, but how does she know? And so that also formed my determination, because my mother's such conviction that they would notice. But those men, one of them was terrible. There were 2 of them. One was a prince of Europe, and these people had been to university, and they decided to go and do law. So now this other guy was called I think Kirenga, I think that's no. Yeah. And that guy really listed me. There were other boys in the school, but they were not as bad as that one. Because this one would go and open my letters, because the way they put the letters in a cubicle, let's say something in, then they would go and open my letters and read them and start quoting them. It really was nasty to me, and I kept quiet because I was the only guy. So I would sit on the table, and there were these men, and I would keep quiet when they are talking. First of all, they were fearing to discuss women with me when I'm present, but there was nothing. I was nowhere to go. I had to be with them.
Yes.
So they then started, this guy started saying things about me, things he reads from my letters which my friends wrote to me. And then one day I snapped. I snapped, and I hit the table, and I told them I'm going to upset this table. And I really told them was. So he said, Dele, then they really did not torture me as they used to do. And he told his friend who was just there, I said, that woman this guy is terrible. She can even castrate a man, because I really lost it.
Yes.
So, they then stopped talking innuendos about me, when we were having dinner and lunch for supper or anything, when we were collectively together. So, but what they talked about the women, because there were many community development people, women there, and they used to go with these women, and some of these women were married. So they would come back and discuss it in a group. First of all, they used to not to discuss it in front of me, but then there was they were nowhere to put me. I was there. So I learned a lot. They come and said, "Oh, you go and try that one. She's like this, just like," and I said, "Oh, so this is how they talk about." So that one also helped me. Yeah, it helped me to understand that so men can discuss the girls after having affairs with them and all that. So it helped me in that sense. So when I went to Britain, because I loved books, so I chanced about a book which was written about the London. It was written by an ex-policeman, and he wrote the London situation, crime and all that. So that book helped me because he went through all the crimes that are committed in the book of the London. We call it the vicious square mile. So he wrote about that's bit of London which was terrible. So I learned about how people, sort of kill people, how they would do, con people, what all sorts of crimes he experienced. He wrote about that in that book. So that book helped me because we were naive. I thought that all the Europeans were behaving like the swamps here. Yes. So life in London was. It was, because here I was protected and they would go nowhere with not permission of the teachers and all that. And then you go and you are thrown into that where you actually make your decision. So the voices that helped me also was that my headmistress in Amagunga, I would hear her was, like situation, I would put it to myself and say, what would she say? And my mother. Yeah, so those two people guided me in absentia, as it were. So this, there was a lot of student politics at that time, especially in 1966. There was politics and there was polarization between Ugandan students and all that. And then I said something in the news which we got to Uganda August. So we were summoned here by the president, but we were 5, I think. There were 4 men and me. So he came to me, when he changed the constitution. He came to brief us about how he changed the constitution in 1996. And so that he would put the students' body against us. So when we went back, they looked for ways. They wanted to kill us. They wanted to beat us up. They said all sorts of stories, and nobody wanted the truth. They hear the truth. This was 1966, 60, and they were saying, "Oh, that they have raised Budo down. They have raised all the Uganda schools, schools down, and all that." And when you try to explain to people, they didn't understand. And also wondering, did you come with lecture? Yeah, well, that's what. Those things shaped my life. Then I remember I had a friend. I had a friend in the hostel, Ugandan. She was also doing law. So he was called Masaba. She married a Masaba, but she was called Wegoye Catherine. So she used to stay above me. And what we used to do over the weekends, we would just gas. She would go to her room and dance and have tea the whole day. And, we went out to sell home. So during Christmas, she used to be very, hands-on. She would go and get a job and stay somewhere, and then we would go and visit her. She was a very, very vibrant person. And then unfortunately, she also passed away about 5 years ago. But those were, we kept to ourselves, and we actually enjoyed our lives. But she had a boyfriend who was a very good medicine in Germany. So whenever he came, we would dress up because he was a good dancer. We would dress up in the same clothes, the same color clothes, and then we go to meet this man. One day there were 3 of us, another friend who is now living in London. So we went with this one man, and then we read and we found some boys there. There was East African house in London where students from East African Muslims. So we asked us, with who did you come? We pointed at the same man, and we were all wearing the same kind of dress, and it was. So, the boys got upset. He said, how can he come with 3 girls? So because he was a very good dancer, I used to love dancing with him. He was a prince, about a boyfriend. They married eventually, and he married a Masaba. Masaba. So anyway, those were the 3 comfortable really be close to me. Now, one was a thing called, I've forgotten her name, but anyway, she's in London. And she married from the same family. We married from the same family. Yes. So, then after I came back in 68, I think, 68. Then I went back to do, this shorthand thing. Shorthand secretary and horse. And I came back. So when I came back, I met my husband at a party. The party was for him for coming back from America. And then his cousin told me, we have got a party for somebody, one of my cousins who have come from America. So he invited me because I knew him before. So when we went to the party, then I met my husband.
Wow. And 50 years later, yeah, you are. Lived up, 55 now. Yes, wow.
Yes. So, but anyway, I had challenges when we got married. I had my first pregnancy was when I was taken to Mulambo on a Saturday. My sister-in-law was a nurse there. So she just grabbed his man. He was a very famous gynecologist. I think it was called Busura or Buwa or something like that. But it is there. And dragged her because now by the time I got to the hospital, Mulabi, Yes. By the time I got to Mulabo, I was going on and off. I was losing my conscious, regaining his spirit. And one day my husband was saying me that when he got me from the car, because I was sitting at the back with my sister and he was sitting right with his sister. So when they asked me, can you get up? I said yes. So I got up because my sister was carrying me. I got up like this. And then I think I lost consciousness. So my husband came and carried me to the bonnet of the vehicle. Then he says he nearly dropped down. Because of he says my eyes were going up like, so he nearly dropped me. And then he and my sister-in-law were crying. Then my little sister who was carrying me saying, she said she determined it in herself that I'm not going to cry until she dies. Yeah, so she didn't cry. She just was there now. She was the strongest of the four of us. So when I was taken to the theater, this doctor was not even on duty. He just happened to come. And then he was the best gynecologist. So then he took over the process. And then they went to the theater. And in my going in and out, I heard them say that my veins had collapsed. I didn't even know that veins collapsed. Apparently, I was having internal bleeding, so they couldn't find my vein. And then I remember, because I was being pricked all over, so I said, "Please go, let them find a vein."
Yeah.
And then I heard somebody say, "And the also pastor." Then I woke up in the wall. That time I was very good. The sixth floor was very good. It was really like a modern hospital. Yeah. So I went there. They had removed the tube. And when I went there, because the baby had grown on the tube and it burst. Apparently, that's why I got the internal. And they took some of the blood that I had lost. They took and gave it to me.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Because it was internal.
Yes.
So anyway, that is the past crisis I had with health. So my husband then was sleeping in the hospital. He was sleeping on the floor. And I couldn't see these nurses coming to see him. They would call it the nurses, they would come and see him. And then, in the morning, when we were talking, I was talking with the nurses. Then he says, this is the first African man we are seeing who can come and sleep down.
Wow.
He said some people, even their wives have birth and they don't care. So they were sort of checking on us because to see my husband who was sleeping on the bed.
Yes. Wow.
So then I think the only nasty experience I had there, because one of the nurses, I am allergic to penicillin. So, and my file was written in the red on top before you open it. So it's allergic to penicillin. Then this nurse came and gave me penicillin.
Oh my goodness.
So I rang the bell quickly, because now my eyes were going, my mouth was getting big and all that. So I said that I think she gave me penicillin. Then they came and reversed it. That was the only negative thing I could see. But at that time, I was good math class. Yeah.
Wow.
So then from there on, I had about 5 other miscarriages. 4. So my dad made 6 with the ectopic.
Wow.
Before. Yeah. And that was 10 years, between 10 years, and I was having miscarriages. So I was not having a baby, and people were talking, and I was faking, because they say when they removed one of my tubes, they said, they had removed my uterus. So even people were telling my people were telling me too, that why don't you allow your husband to get married? I said, but I'm not standing on his way. But my husband refused to have a baby. He said he doesn't want you. We had faith, both of us. We had faith that I will one day produce. So at that crisis, yes. And then after 10 years, then we had summer.
Wow.
And after another 2 years, then also Richard came.
Wow.
So I have 2 children. Samuel is a director of credit in UDC, and Samuel is working, and Richard is working in a bank. That's nice. I think LCB. So
I think when I was Googling, yes, I saw a Richard Maitum.
yes.
And okay, so that is your son.
Yeah.
The name is very unique, Maitum.
Yeah.
All Maitums would be related to you.
Yeah.
Okay, most likely.
Wow. So let me see. So then we came back. We went into exile, and when the coup happened and Amin came into power, we were sort of, he didn't take it seriously until possibly this house was rented by the army, and there was, I think, either general or somebody called Hossein from West Nile. I didn't even get to meet him. He was staying here. So now, when the coup happened, then they announced, apparently, according to Amin, the meeting was held here in his house. So instead of saying in Hussein's house, he said in Nyana Maitum's house. One of the 18 reasons, if you go to look at one of the 18 reasons, they say that a meeting was held to kill Amin in Nyana Maitum's house. So that shocked us. We heard it on radio, on TV. So we looked at each other. So then we remember that, okay, the army had rented the place and the person was saying, and he was a very, I think, high person in the hierarchy of the army. So maliciously, the person put our name, and as if we were the ones who were involved. So that caused a lot of problems. But still, we didn't run away. We ran away, I think, in this 1971. Yeah, then. And it was because my husband then was transferred. He was the general manager of Uganda Meat Packers at that time when we got married. Then when the coup happened, he was transferred to do something with the Uganda Clays, which was away Namgongo there. So the European with whom he was working said that he should go to Czechoslovakia and see how the ceramics are made there, because this one was not as good. The Uganda clays were making was not as good as those ones. So he went there. So when he was away, now we had moved from Kololo because of the coup. We moved from Kololo to Natubu or some place there. There was a flat, but it was for Indians. So we were the only black people there. We moved there. And then I think I'd gone away, and I found out when I came back, these people ran to me and say, "Oh, they were looking for you. They came for you." So I asked them what kind of car came for me. For my husband, of course, I knew it was for her and her husband. So they described the car to me, that it was a Mercedes something. And I thought, I talked to my aunt, and she said, "Oh, if it is a Mercedes, it might be so and so." So I knew that my telephone was being tapped. So I knew the person whom he says had come. So I said it in the telephone, knowing that they were listening. So I said that if it is so and so, I will kill him, because there was somebody I knew. Yeah. And so that person then sent another person to me to say that if your husband is picked up, it won't be my group.
Yes.
But before that, when the coup happened, we went home to the village, and my husband was picked from there and taken to. We thought he was killed, but when I went to Lira to find out whether they had taken him there or whether it's because on the way we didn't find any bodies. So they said no, he was being visiting his uncle, and then Akena Dogo's father was his clan brother, I should say. So now when he was there, they picked him up and they took him. And then somebody who was coming back home told us that, "Oh, I found these people with a car and the army and Maitum's car in the middle. So we knew that he was picked up. But so the next morning I went to Lira and we found that in Lira they found that he was in Gulu. So then the people in Gulu told the people in Lira that he was still alive. So I had to go to Gulu. And then there was a officer's mess somewhere. So I would go around that place, pray, and I was hoping that perhaps he could see me through the window or what, and see that I'm there. So I went to my aunt was working for the prisons. So I said he went and he tried to find out, and he found that he was still alive. And so I came to Kampala again because I wanted to go and see Amin, because Amin used to be friends to my family. Well, I wanted to see Amin, but I found that there was a minister from Lamo who was ambassador to. He had been an ambassador to Moscow. So he was related to my husband. So he went there to Amin and told Amin that, you are picking the rowdy person. This guy is not really political. And he knew us, but because we were related to Obote, that became an issue. So all bundled together. Some people lost their lives who were not in politics at all. So this guy went and talked to Amin. And then Amin said, and then in fact, coincidentally, then these people came from Guru, where they had taken my husband, driving our car. They came to Amin and told Amin that, we have got one big one from Akokoro. What do we do with him? Then Amin was in a good mood. He said, that one has no problem. You release him. He said, what about his vehicle? They said, give him his vehicle. So they went back and, so I understand that when I went to the doctor, to the officer's mess, the army officer's mess, when they told thinking that I would find him there. So they told him that, it is coming. So there was one army officer who was very keen to see me, to get my husband to the mess. Now, when he came, then I told my husband, I said, that guy seems to be good. He was the one who was calling to find out why you had not yet come and was not. And he told me that was the one who was holding a knife to my throat. Wow. I'm telling him, if I'm told to take you to Kampala, you will not reach, because I'm going to kill you in Karuma. So I wondered why he was so nice to me. So anyway, they gave us our vehicle in the bay, late in the evening. So we said, no, we can't go now. First, they can follow us and kill us. So we said, no, let us spend the night. So we spent the night at my auntie's place, and we left at about 4 o'clock in the morning. And then we went home. Then we said, you can't, we went home, and then we went to see my parents because they were worried also. So we went to see my parents, and then we came to Kampala. And then my husband resumed his work. He went back to work. But then he then went to Czechoslovakia. And then I think he came to Germany. So now when these people came, wanting to pick him up again, we ran away in 72. That's when we went. So now I was trying to warn my husband, but I couldn't get to him. And so this guy was a minister in the American government, called the embassy in Germany, and my husband was there. So he talked to him. He said, "Oh, have you finished?" He said, "I'm now in Germany. I'm coming home." Then he says, "You should continue with your journey." That is all, he gets. So he got the message. He said, "You continue with your journey." So my husband came and went to Stockton in Nairobi. We went to my best man's house, and then he wrote his report and sent it to UDC.